Right. I don't know anything about you. So
What do you want to know?
chit-chat,
Yeah.
We're going to end up using about 40 seconds of this
Cool.
for the next time you come so that we can promote your thing.
Oh, gosh.
So if you were, let me ask you first, if you were to come back, do you think you'd pretty much be doing the same thing you're doing now, or is it possible that you might be doing something different?
That's a good question. Well, even even when, I do a workshop over again, it's a completely different experience every single time. So, I have been up here in other capacities leading retreats, and I used to help my very dear friend Nitya, who comes up here with the kiddos when I was younger with the summer camp. So, and then my brother Jay Miles and I lead a retreat every summer up here. So, it's been different every time so far. So I can't imagine it being exactly the same.
Well, what is it you're doing this weekend?
So this weekend, I'm honored to be leading a weekend of workshops, all about cultivating trust, how wild it is to let it be. So we're going to have a lovely orientation tonight. And then tomorrow, I'm teaching 2 workshops, 2 2-hour workshops that I've condensed under 2 hours that are normally longer, just to get some real good, juicy stuff in. And one is called Wildly Free to Be, which is focusing primarily on Anahata, heart chakra, and Manipura, our power center, our solar plexus, and then also this idea of trust, and Ejvara Pranidhana, which I have here on my forearm. I've branded myself with the reminder, basically giving it up to a higher power. Doing your work, putting in, your heart and your effort, but then, giving it up. And so that is going to be including asana and journaling and reflecting and all kinds of other goodness. And I'm also teaching one called Contentment from Within, all about the niyama of santosha. Are you familiar? Mm-hmm. So santosha is contentment. So the first 2 branches of yoga, the yamas and the niyamas. It's not all about just stretching our hamstrings. Sure, you probably know that. But so the yamas and the niyamas are kind of like the do's and the don'ts, right, to life. And santosha is one of the niyamas. So focusing on this, how do we find contentment, not only on our mats, but also, when the most important work begins, when we step off. That also includes journaling, reflecting, some asana, but it's very much going a little bit deeper into the whole meditative side, including progressive relaxation, visualization, and yoga nidra, also called yogic sleep. And then Sunday, really special treat and honor to be joined by my brother, soul brother, and very dear friend Brad Ellsworth is going to be coming up from RVA as well. But he's also very much on the road too now. Experience called Drum and Yasa, which is we travel around to festivals and studios and we teach yoga to live drumming. So it's a very primal, getting back in touch with the animal inside of yourself, out of your mind and into this vessel that is your body. So that's going to kind of be the grand finale for the weekend.
That sounds very nice.
I'm looking forward to it.
What's your background as far as just yoga you've studied or teaching? I mean, it sounds like you basically kind of cover the full 8 limbs of yoga in your teachings.
Oh, goodness. I don't know if I've gotten to the 8th yet.
Right.
Little sparkles. Thank you. It's been quite a journey, and I know it's only just begun. I was very blessed to grow up with parents that were yogis just by the way that they lived their lives. And, my dad had me, instead of coming home from school and, getting right to, well, I would eventually get to homework, but, getting to like a video game or something like that, he had me in the backyard shooting bows and arrows, or in the front yard practicing my fly cast. I don't know if you're familiar with fly fishing, but it's quite meditative in and of itself. And, was raised outside in the woods, and, our family vacations weren't at hotels. We were out in the middle of the woods with everything on our backs, rationing our food, communing with nature and each other. So, very blessed to have been raised with that example, being taught yoga off the mat without even realizing it yet. And then, to make it's a very long story condensed, my dad took me to my first yoga class when I was in high school. And at that point I was like, why are people breathing so loud? I think someone just farted. Like, what's going on? This is weird. And he's like an early bird, so it was really early, and I'm in high school. I just want to go back to bed. But I'm really excited to be there with my dad. So I really started a regular practice, asana practice with my mom after I graduated college, because I was just kind of like, now what do I do? And I was just kind of at this void place. And she was like, come to yoga with me. I don't want to. Come to yoga with me. Maybe next time. Come to yoga. Okay, fine. So I finally did. And, in my college years, I also started very much getting into Eastern philosophy and, other ways of thinking. And my partner at the time and I were just very much exploring, Eastern philosophy. I started studying Buddhism, and I had a beautiful experience. Also, I went to James Madison University of a class that I took that then I was asked to help teach, was a mixture of positive psychology, Eastern philosophy, metacognition, and biology. So it like really just started, my mind was like, whoa, there's like, there's really something to tap into. So, I really was fortunate to receive very much of the philosophical side before even the asana side, because I have ridiculous amounts of energy, which is also a blessing and a curse. So, the asana piece has also really helped me to, kind of rein in that energy and slow down. So, in going with my mom, I remember walking down the stairs one day in their house and kind of having one of those moments. I remember it like a picture, and I said, Mom, I know what I have to do with my life. And I didn't know exactly how it was going to look, but I knew that this was my path. And I just started talking to people and networking and going to every free class that I could, and going, I was practicing at my local gym at the time, and just, having conversations with the teachers. And then a beautiful soul, Sonia Stokely, who I call my yoga mama, introduced me to my teacher, Arlene Bjork, who is with me now always, and lives through myself and so many other countless souls that she touched. And so I got my 200-hour through her Grace Yoga training systems, and she passed before we actually even graduated. And this tiny flame that was flickering inside of me, I remember the day of her funeral just turned into this raging bonfire. I was given a message, and she instilled and entrusted that message in myself and 2 graduating classes. So, the journey meandered through getting my elementary school teaching license and doing that for a minute. And I led a kids yoga teacher training for about 5 years, where I would travel to DC, and then I took it out to Montana, teaching adults how to be kids again, essentially. I was teaching in schools all over Richmond. And then I took the leap and decided that I was going to make yoga my entire life, and started my own business. And then I got certified, got my 500-hour last year with beautiful Jennifer Elliott in Charlottesville, Virginia, absolute goddess. And, I've really taken a lot of my teaching to the road now in the capacity of retreats and workshops, and I teach at festivals, and just have the blessing now of connecting with this tribe that is so vast. I just really think of myself as having a really big backyard now, and family wherever I go. So, and with my teachers, it's every single one of my students, is such an incredible teacher, is a mirror, and I just continue to learn every single time I show up and pay attention. And yeah, so I've started some mentoring now as well, and it's just, it continues to unfold in the most beautiful ways, unplanned. Of course there's a certain amount of planning, to make things happen, but I remain open for as this path continues to unfold. So yeah.
Do you have, it sounds like you have a personal background in sort of the psychological part of yoga or Buddhism, the idea of understanding your own mind and that whole process. Do you have a particular way of sort of trying to help your students catch on to that aspect of yoga as well? You mentioned a whole variety of things that you teach.
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose I feel that sometimes the best way of teaching is to lead by example, and when it comes to corralling that busy monkey mind, there are so many tools that yoga gives us, everywhere from the breath to visualizing to mantras that we repeat to ourselves both on and off of the mat to, different tools or activities, I suppose, for lack of a better word, whether it's spending time in nature or writing or playing music or what have you. And so I guess, making as many of these tools available to my students, whether it's explaining them to my students or exemplifying them myself, and having conversations too. Dharma talks, I love takasana, as I like to call it, just having mind-expanding conversations, because I still have so much to learn as well about how to, incorporate this psychological piece or philosophical piece into it as well, and have experienced what it can do for both the mind and the body, even with the breath, just, by lengthening our breath. We spend so much of our days, I'm generalizing, in fight or flight, our society, just like constant survival, on the go, nonstop, like overstimulation with all of the technology. And, by lengthening our breath, we are directly activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which gives our body messages to calm down, that we're safe, that it's okay. So, I feel that there are so many different ways of sharing and exploring that side, and it's different for everybody, but it is called practice for a reason. Nobody's perfect. It's not yoga perfect. I always like to remind myself that too. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did, and I think I'm happy with what we got so far. Is there
Cool.
anything that you would like to say that I haven't asked you? Or?
Gosh, just that I am so incredibly honored to be here. I remember coming here for the first time and just being so blown away by the energy, by the community, and by the teachers, and just thinking to myself, like, whoa, if I could have the honor of serving one day in Yogaville, like, whoa, like, that means, I'm doing something right. So I'm just so honored. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.